Hi, sweetheart. It's Mommy. I'm so happy you are here. Come sit with me, just like this. I saved this quiet, warm time especially for us. Even though you are all grown up now and living your own big life, it still brings me so much joy when we can sit together and spend time just for us. These moments remind me of when you were small and I would read to you before bed. My heart still feels full when you are here with me. Last time we began reading Little Prince, and today we are going to continue the story. Get comfortable, my love. Pull up a blanket, dim the lights a little, and just relax. Let the world outside fade away for a while. I'm right here with you. Ready? Let's continue our journey with the Little Prince. I soon learned to know that flower better. On the Little Prince's planet, there had always been very simple flowers, decorated with a single row of petals, so that they took up no room at all and got in no one's way. They would appear one morning in the grass and would fade by nightfall. But this one had grown from a seed brought from who knows where, and the Little Prince had kept a close watch over a sprout that was not like any of the others. It might have been a new kind of baobab, but the sprout soon stopped growing and began to show signs of blossoming. The Little Prince, who had watched the development of an enormous bud, realized that some sort of miraculous apparition would emerge from it. But the flower continued her beauty, preparations in the shelter of her green chamber, selecting her colors with the greatest care and dressing quite deliberately, adjusting her petals one by one. She had no desire to emerge all rumpled, poppies. She wished to appear only in the full radiance of her beauty. Oh yes, she was quite vain, and her mysterious adornment had lasted days and days. And then one morning, precisely at sunrise, she showed herself. And after having labored so painstakingly, she loined and said, "Ah, I'm hardly awake. Forgive me. I'm still all untidy." But the little prince couldn't contain his admiration. "How lovely you are, aren't I?" the flower answered sweetly. "And I was born the same time as the sun." The little prince realized that she wasn't any too modest, but she was so dazzling. "I believe it is at breakfast time," she had soon added. "Would you be so kind as to tend to me?" And the little prince, utterly abashed, having gone to look for a watering can, served the flower. She had soon become tormenting him with her rather touchy vanity. One day, for instance, alluding to her fall thorns, she remarked to the little prince, "I'm ready for tigers with all their claws." "There are no tigers on my planet," the little prince had objected, "and besides, tigers don't eat weeds." "I'm not a weed," the flower sweetly replied. "Forgive me. I'm not at all afraid of tigers, but I have a horror of drafts. You wouldn't happen to have a screen?" "A horror of drafts? That's not a good sign for a plant." The little prince had observed how complicated this flower is. "After dark, you will put me under glass. How cold it is where you live, quite uncomfortable. Where I come from—" But she suddenly broke off. She had come here as a seed. She couldn't have known anything of other worlds. Humiliated at having let herself be caught on the verge of so naive a lie, she coughed 2 or 3 times in order to put the little prince in the wrong. "That screen? I was going to look for one, but you were speaking to me." Then she made herself cough again, in order to inflict a twinge of remorse on him all the same. So the little prince, despite all the goodwill of his love, had soon come to mistrust her. She had taken seriously certain inconsensual remarks and had grown very unhappy. "I shouldn't have listened to her," he confided to me one day, "You must never listen to flowers. You must look at them and smell them." I perfumed my planet, but I didn't know how to enjoy that. The business about the tiger claws, instead of annoying me, ought to have moved me. And he confided further, "In those days I didn't understand anything. I should have judged her according to her actions, not her words. She perfumed my planet and lit up my life. I should never have gone away. I ought to have realized that tenderness underlying her silly pretensions. Flowers are so contradictory, but I was too young to know how to love her." In order to make his escape, I believe he took advantage of a migration of wild birds. On the morning of his departure, he put his planet in order. He carefully raked out his active volcanoes. The little prince possessed 2 active volcanoes, which were very convenient for warming his breakfast. He also possessed 1 extinct volcano, but as he said, you never know. So he raked out the extinct volcano too. If they are properly raked out, volcanoes burn gently and regularly without eruptions. Volcanic eruptions are like fires in a chimney. Of course, on our Earth, we are too much small to rake out our volcanoes. That is why they cause us so much trouble. The little prince also uprooted, a little sadly, the last baobab shoots. He believed he would never be coming back, but all these familiar tasks seemed very sweet to him on his last morning. And when he watered the flower one last time and put her under glass, he felt like crying. "Goodbye," he said to the flower, but she didn't answer him. "Goodbye," he repeated. The flower coughed, but not because she had a cold. "I've been silly," she told him at last. "I ask your forgiveness. Try to be happy." He was surprised that there were no reproaches. He stood there, quiet, bewildered, holding the glass bell in midair. He failed to understand this calm sweetness. "Of course, I love you," the flower told him. "It was my fault. You never knew. It doesn't matter. But you were just as silly as I was. Try to be happy. Put that glass thing down. I don't want it anymore. But the wind, my cold isn't that bad. The night air will do me good. I'm a flower. the animals. I need to put up with 2 or 3 caterpillars if I want to get to know the butterflies. Apparently, they are very beautiful. Otherwise, who will visit me? You'll be far away. As for the big animals, I'm not afraid of them. I have my own claws. And she naively showed her 4 thorns. Then she added, "Don't hang around like this. It's irritating. You made up your mind to leave. Now go." For she didn't want him to see her crying. She was such a proud flower. He happened to be in the vicinity of asteroid 325, 326, 327, 328, 329, and 330. So he began by visiting them to keep himself busy and to learn something. The first one was inhabited by a king, wearing purple and ermine. He was sitting on a simple yet majestic throne. "Ah, here is a subject," the king exclaimed when he caught sight of the little prince. And the little prince wondered, how can he know who I am if he has never seen me before? He didn't realize that for kings the world is extremely simplified. All men are subjects. "Approach the throne so I can get a better look at you," said the king, very proud of being a king for someone at last. The little prince looked around for a place to sit down, but the planet was covered by the magnificent ermine cloak. So he remained standing, and since he was tired, he yawned. It is a violation of etiquette to yawn in a king's presence, the monarch told him. "I forbid you to do so." "I can't help it," answered the little prince, quite embarrassed. "I've made a long journey and I haven't had any sleep." "Then I command you to yawn," said the king. "I haven't seen anyone yawn for years. For me, yawns are curiosity. Come on, yawn again. It is an order that intimidates me. I can't do it now," said the little prince, blushing deeply. "Well, well," the king replied, "then I command you to yawn sometimes, and sometimes too." He was sputtering a little and seemed annoyed, for the king insisted that his authority be universally respected. He would tolerate no disobedience, being an absolute monarch. But since he was a kindly man, all his commands were reasonable. "If I were to command," he would often say, "if I were to command a general to turn into a seagull. And if the general didn't obey, that wouldn't be the general's fault. It would be mine. May I sit down? The little prince timidly inquired. I command you to sit down, the king replied, majestically gathering up a fold of his ermine robe. But the little prince was wondering. The planet was tiny. Over what could the king really reign? Sire, he ventured, excuse me for asking. I command you to ask, the king hastened to say. Sire, over what do you reign? Over everything, the king answered with great simplicity. Over everything. With a discreet gesture, the king pointed to his planet, to the other planets, and to the stars. Over all that? Asked the little prince. Over all that, the king answered. For not only was he an absolute monarch, but a universal monarch as well. And do the stars obey you? Of course, the king replied. They obey immediately. I tolerate no insubordination. Such power amazed the little prince. If he had willed it himself, he would have watched not 44, but 72, or even 100, even 200 sunsets on the same day without ever having to move his chair. And things he was feeling rather sad on account of remembering his own little planet, which he had forsaken. He ventured to ask a favor of the king. I'd like to see a sunset. Do me a favor, Your Majesty. Command the sun to set. If I commanded a general to fly from one flower to the next, like a butterfly, or to write a tragedy, or to turn into a seagull, and if the general didn't carry out my command, which of us would be in the wrong, the general or me? You would be, said the little prince, quite firmly. Exactly. One must command from each what each can perform. The king went on. Authority is based first of all upon reason. If you command your subjects to jump in the ocean, there will be a revolution. I am entitled to command obedience because my orders are reasonable. Then my sunset, insisted the little prince, who never let go of a question once he had asked it. You shall have your sunset. I shall command it, but I shall wait, according to my signs of government, until conditions are favorable. And when will that be? Inquired the little prince. Well, well, replied the king. First consulting a large calendar. Well, well, that will be around, that will be tonight, around 7:40. And you'll see how well I am obeyed. The little prince yawned. He was regretting his lost sunset. And besides, he was already growing a little bored. I have nothing further to do here, he told the king. I'm going to be on my way. Do not leave, answered the king, who was so proud of having a subject. Do you leave? I shall make you my minister. A minister of what? Of justice. But there's no one here to judge. You never know, the king told him. I haven't yet explored the whole of my realm. I'm very old. I have no room for a carriage, and it wearies me to walk. Oh, but I've already seen for myself, said the little prince, leaning forward to glance one more time at the other side of the planet. There's no one over there either. Then you shall pass judgment on yourself. The king answered, that is the hardest thing of all. It is much harder to judge yourself than to judge others. If you succeed in judging yourself, it's because you are truly a wise man. But I can judge myself anywhere, said the little prince. I don't need to live here. Well, said the king, I have good reason to believe that there is an old rat living somewhere on my planet. I hear him at night. You could judge that old rat. From time to time, you will condemn him to death. That's why his life will depend on your justice. But you'll pardon him each time for economy's sake. There's only one rat. I don't like condemning anyone to death, the little prince said. And now I think I'll be on my way. No, said the king. The little prince, having completed his preparations, had no desire to aggrieve the old monarch. If your majesty desires to be promptly obeyed, you should give me a reasonable command. He might command me, for instance, to leave before this minute is up. It seems to me that conditions are favorable. The king, having made no answer, the little prince hesitated at first, and then, with a sign, took his leave. I make you my ambassador, the king hastily shouted after him. He had a great air of authority. Grown-ups are so strange, the little prince said to himself as he went on his way. And that's where we'll pause for tonight, my dear. I hope this reading brought you some peace and warmth tonight. It always means the world to me to share these quiet moments with you. Thank you for spending this time with Mommy. No matter how old you get or how far life takes you, this warm corner will always be here for you. Take care of yourself, my love. Get some rest. I love you. Sweet dreams. And see you in our next chapter of Little Prince. Good night, my love. Good night.